Hello and welcome back to Blow Up the Team. Jeremy here today. We're going to be talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and their off-season slash draft recap grades, whatever, however we're gonna call this. Um, yeah. Any thoughts on the Raiders, Matt? You have I heard you were kind of complaining about their name change.
No, I'm just not used to hearing it. It's just weird hearing them as the Oakland Raiders my whole life. And my dad's a Raiders fan, so obviously I've watched a fair bit of Raiders games. And we don't get them a whole lot in New Jersey, but when we do, my dad's always got it on.
Fair
Football
enough.
season in my house, every single week. It's Saturday Notre Dame T-shirt, Sunday Raiders jersey, and
Valid.
he won't change no matter what. He does not change he does not wear his not change. He wears the same exact jersey. He will not wear if the person is not on the team anymore. He had an Amari Cooper jersey that he got, and then like 2 years later he's off the team, so he's stopped wearing it for the rest of the season. It was really strange. And he ended up getting a jersey of some retired Raiders player. So he's quote, "I can't be disappointed and see him not on the team."
Valid. All right, so just real quick disclaimer, we don't own any of the clips that are in this video, so anything that we don't pull straight from ESPN is going to be linked in the description down below, so go ahead and make sure to check that out. But I think without further ado, let's talk for a second about the 2019 Oakland Raiders, now going to be the 2020 Las Vegas Raiders. They finished 7-9, and unfortunately, they're in a very tough division. Obviously, Kansas City Chiefs headlining that division, but the division all around was pretty solid last season, I would say. And they're gonna have the Chiefs to compete with going forward. So the team but it grinded all of last season. Honestly, I would say that there was not a lot of huge expectations for that team, kind of around the league. I maybe fans maybe feel a little bit differently, but kind of around the league, it didn't feel like there was a ton of expectations for this team. But they just kind of grinded all season long, and they put themselves in pretty decent position. They fought hard, and they brought home some wins. The offense last year, honestly, one of the better in the league, 11th in yards per game, but they were just really well rounded. Ninth in passing yards and 13th in rushing yards. So you don't a lot of what I've noticed kind of as we're going, especially as we're going through these, and I'm really taking a look at the stats for each individual team. A lot of the best offenses are just they either have an elite rushing attack or an elite passing attack. It's kind of odd for them to have kind of just a good mix of both, which is what the Raiders seem to have last season. Um, Yeah, so 11th overall, ninth in passing, 13th in rushing, but they were only 24th in points per game. So that was really what kind of I think kind of kept them from having a better record than they did. They just weren't able to quite like punch the ball in at the goal line. And then also the defense, 19th in yards allowed per game, 25th in passing yards. Now they were actually a pretty stout rushing defense. The eighth least rushing yards allowed per game last season. So, they actually had a pretty good rushing defense. It's just when the passing defense isn't there, especially in the league that we have now, they're gonna find ways to throw all over you. And they also gave up the 24th. Uh, they were 24th in points allowed. So. Having a bad scoring offense coupled with a defense that gives up a lot of points is not a great combination, and I think that was the difference in their record last season, in my opinion. But let's just really quickly, I'm gonna again at the end of the video, the ranking that I give is only based off the draft, but we are gonna quickly talk about their offseason, and they had a big one. Now on the offensive side of the football, they did sign Jason Witten to be tight end 2, as well as Marcus Mariota to back up Derek Carr on a 2-year, $17.5 million deal. Um, I would say the Marcus Mariota pickup is kind of important because they were kind of lacking a solid backup, and Marcus Mariota is no slouch, at least in my opinion. I know he's had his ups and downs throughout his career, but that's a great backup quarterback to have in my opinion. I like that pickup. He's also just kind of versatile. He's athletic enough where he can kind of make a difference in there. He's not gonna just stand in the pocket, kind of lame. Not lame as in not fun to watch, like kind of like a sitting duck almost. But the defensive side of football was where I was really surprised. They spent more than $95 million on their defense this year. Um, They signed Corey Littleton to start at middle linebacker to a 3-year, $35 million deal. They signed Nick Kwiatkowski to start at linebacker, another 3-year, $21 million deal. They signed Demarius Randall to start at free safety, 1-year, $2 million deal, as well as Malik Collins to start at defensive tackle on a 1-year, $6 million deal. And finally, the last kind of big notable guy here was Carl Nassib to back up defensive end on a 3-year, $25 million deal. So they were very aware where the weakness was last season, and they were not afraid to attack that with their moves in the offseason. And I think that that's kind of what they needed to do. I really liked the fact that they were willing spenders in terms of just like overall outlook on the team. I really liked that they were willing spenders. I think they needed to be. And I think that gives promise that they're still hopeful that they can turn this around. They haven't completely gone into oh crap, what do we do now kind of mode, which is a good thing. And then to couple that big offseason, they made 7 draft selections, none later than the 4th round. So they made some big trades up to make sure that they got the guys that they wanted, got impactful players for them this year, and it almost looks like they're aiming to try to turn it around this season and try to make a playoff run this season, which this is not about whether we think what their playoff chances are, but I will say they made moves towards that for sure, in my opinion. Being willing to go out there and spend that money, that's what you needed to do. So let's go ahead and get into the draft selections now. Early in the first round, 12th pick, I guess that's technically middle of the first round, but they went with Henry Ruggs, wide receiver out of Alabama. The Raiders needed another wide receiving option, despite those kind of numbers that I was talking about earlier. I think they needed another wide receiver option, and they got it. He needs to work on his route running a little bit, but he's got great speed, and he can use it to threaten on vertical routes, and he's also got good hands and after the catch ability. He fights hard, and he has a warrior mentality. ESPN was quoted as saying that he has a kind of an alpha dog mentality, was what I specifically saw while I was reading on there. And it shows up in how he blocks and how he covers kicks. There is a lot of speculation that he could win the starting job as a rookie, and I kind of expect him to. He's currently listed as a wide receiver too. And I would expect him to be an impact player in special teams. So in the kind of mid-first round here, they got impact players in 2 sides of the football, which is 2 out of the 3 from 1 pick early in the first round. That we love to talk about value here. I think that it doesn't get a whole lot more valuable than that. I heard Matt just unmute his microphone. You have something to add?
Oh, no, my microphone's been unmuted. I accidentally just made a little too much noise in my chair. My dad was, and I were talking about it, and another thing I really like about him is that they drafted, the way the NFL is changing towards a very, very heavy speed game. Like, when you think of, like, elite receivers, you think, like, Tyreek Hill type speed. And I don't say he's Tyreek Hill type speed, but he's got excellent speed. And people are, like, at least in the initial draft reaction, they're like, why the Raiders draft this guy when they this guy on the board? Like, he's like, I think they drafted. I like their draft. I think they drafted for speed with this choice, and very much following the trend of speedy wide receivers to, be there to be able to make bursts downfield pretty fast. And I really like the pick. That's all.
Yeah, I definitely like the pick as well. But let's go to their next first round pick, which I think is one of the more important picks that they needed. They needed a cornerback. We talked about how shoddy that passing defense was, and that's where they looked later on in the first round with Damon Arnett, cornerback out of Ohio State. He's got good size and decent speed, and he is physical and plays at his best in press man-to-man coverage. Although one worrying thing that I kind of saw is, from what I was reading, it looks like he's kind of got inconsistent instincts and a tendency to get a bit grabby. That will, if he can't find a way to shore that up, it will kind of get highlighted, I think, a little bit at the next level, especially if he struggles in zone coverage, if it's those zone coverage instincts that are kind of weak. He'll definitely need to work on that, but regardless of that, he's a great run defender with the confidence to step up and make the play on the ball, and with the stopping power to back it up. Now, he is currently listed as a backup corner behind Prince Amukamara, another offseason pickup for the Raiders. And I would say that I think he can learn from the vet and kind of take over as a starter in the near future, whether that's next season, later on this season due to an injury or whatever it is. I definitely think that he's got all the potential in the world to step up and kind of help to try to turn around that passing defense. Really, what they really need, um, regardless of like not regardless, but if you're not able to kind of go in and bring in that big name guy that's going to turn around your passing defense this year, you need those younger guys that you can kind of look to build around going forward. And I think he definitely can be one of those guys if he can continue to develop. Next up, we were just talking about wide receivers, and they went with another one here now in the third round with Lynn Bowden Jr. Now, he is technically listed as a wide receiver out of Kentucky. However, I would say he's probably one of the more versatile guys that you'll see in the draft. He took over actually as starting quarterback during the second half of the 2019 season. He runs well in the open field, and he also returned 2 punts for touchdowns in 2018. So he's just kind of one of those all-around, just kind of he has just a knack for offense, I guess. He can kind of play all over. He can do whatever it is that you need him to do. He is quicker than he is fast, so he's not like a huge threat downfield. But if you get the ball in his hands, you can kind of just sit back and watch the magic. Now, he is technically listed as third-string running back, actually, behind Josh Jacobs and Jalen Richard. But I would say he's way too versatile to not see the field this season. I would expect him to have some kind of an impact, whether it's in some kind of weirder formation where it's just kind of designed to get the ball in his hands to let him kind of figure it out. I don't know, but he's way too versatile to not see the field this season, in my opinion.
He's a football super utility man.
Pretty much. Listen, if you can be listed as a wide receiver, step in as a starting quarterback for Kentucky for the second half of the 2019 season, and then get drafted and be put on the depth charts as a running back, that's got to show some kind of insane ability to just move all around the football field. Next up, one of my guys that, of course, I'm going to highlight here, Bryan Edwards, wide receiver out of South Carolina. For those of you who don't know, I am currently going to the University of South Carolina. So, he was one of the guys that you kind of always were hearing talks about, and for plays just like that. The plays for reasons just like this, like we just saw here. The ability to make that kind of flashy play, the ability to kind of just go up and get the football. He's a bigger receiver. He's got smooth route running. He tends to find holes in the zone. He's very instinctive, and although he runs hard after the catch, he doesn't necessarily have that like kind of second gear to really pull away. But he does show the flashes to kind of be able to make those plays downfield, partially due to his size, and he's also just, despite his inconsistent hands, he's just got a flair about him that kind of makes him have that highlight reel capability that I think has really made him a kind of a fan favorite. Plus also he was probably our best all-around player, our offensive player. Am I gonna get killed for that? Hopefully no South Carolina fan watches that. Everybody has different opinions. The school's team was not at its best this season, but regardless, I do want to talk about that actually for a second. He is currently listed as a wide receiver 4, right ahead of Nelson Aguilar, who has holes in his hands. But I think that he's going to see the field this season, and I honestly think that he could have a little bit of a surprising year. Like I talked about, the South Carolina didn't have the best all-around team that they've had last year, and there was also quarterback turmoil. So I think that more consistent talent could highlight his strengths better. Getting to an NFL level and getting a quarterback that they do this for a living, and they're not still trying to be developed like a redshirt freshman that's coming in and trying to fill a hole, right? They're going to be able to put the ball in his hands, allow him to make that play on the football, which I think is what he kind of desperately needs. And I think that you could see his hands actually show to be a little bit stronger than maybe they looked on film. Once he gets up to that next level and he kind of gets more consistent talent kind of across the board, in my opinion. Definitely admitting bias there, though, because he's a South Carolina guy and I want to see him do well.
Do you want to talk about rough football seasons? My school's football program, it ended after World War II, during World War II, because there was not enough guys. So they restarted in 2001. Since then, we've had one winning season, and the past, except for this year, for the 4 years leading up to this year, we had a combined total of 3 wins.
And definitely a rough season, but you also don't claim to be a football school.
Well, yeah, also that. But I just like to highlight how laughable. How much fun it is to that easy to just laugh at our football team. We actually all went insane and we actually won 3 games in a row and won 4 games in a season. It was our best season in like 10 years. It was nuts.
I actually was hoping the Eagles fan over here, was hoping that we would pick up Brian Edwards because I really like this kid. Now, I'm
How much
highlighting this.
more bias do you want to get?
I want to have a ton of bias. Excuse you. I'm allowed to have bias. We admit bias, so we're allowed to have it. Now,
Okay.
the reason why I brought this back up is because we claim as at the University of South Carolina, one of the football is a way of living down there, and if you don't know, now you know it is a way of life down there. College football is everything, and you know, for such a big, for as big of a football school as we like to claim that we are, it's unfortunate that we have to play teams like Clemson, Alabama, Georgia every year. So, it sometimes can be a rough one to be a fan down
Get
there.
better, nerd.
Get better, nerd. Okay, buddy. You want to put the two teams head to head and see who wins? Suddenly you gotten quiet. I'm not sure it was on that one.
Wait, sorry, what was that?
I said, do you want to put the two teams head to head and see who wins?
You're gonna take on a D2
That's what I
private
thought.
Catholic.
Back down, buddy. Back down.
Back down.
All right. Next up, Tanner Muse, safety out of Clemson. It's very unfortunate. We gotta, play them. Anyways, enough of South Carolina. Tanner Muse, safety out of Clemson. He had the second fastest 40-yard dash time in for a safety group. We were just talking about the NFL starting to play faster. Here's some speed for you. He reads the QB well, and he stays in position. And he also runs well in a straight line. However, his lateral movement can be a little bit limited. He does track the ball well, though, and he has shown some ball skills. So, at a safety position, you're hoping that he's kind of able to kind of stay back there and stay in position, and that lateral movement doesn't get exposed too bad, especially on kind of those underneath routes. I think is where you're going to be really afraid that he'll kind of get beat with that slower lateral movement. He also attacks the run well. So kind of just trying to find guys that are going to be willing to, they're going to have the speed to cover back there and pass defense because that's where the team was most needed, but without having to give up too much run defense-wise because they're going to be willing to come up and make those plays, be willing to come up and make those hits on the running backs in the run game. So both of those first two picks on the defensive side of the football, Damon Arnett and Tanner Muse, both kind of similar-minded in the sense that they've shown promise in the passing game, but they're also not giving up anything on their run defense. He is currently listed as a third string strong safety, but I would say if he can kind of loosen his hips up, I would expect him to move up. Plus, there's always room for speed like that on special teams. I would say he's probably going to be, if he chooses to put in the effort and they put him there, he could be a great cover man or a gunner with straight line speed like that. Next up, we've got our first and only offensive lineman for the Raiders this year. John Simpson, offensive guard, also out of Clemson. He's a bigger guard with long arms and decent speed. He's got the quickness, length, and broad frame to be effective, and he can sometimes struggle a bit against kind of quicker pass rushers, especially interior pass rushers. But he tends to get into position well, and he takes smart angles in the run game. So definitely an effective run blocker. He just needs to work a little bit on his pass protection. He's only played guard in college, but from what I was reading, it sounds like he has the potential to flex to either right tackle or center. So versatility along that offensive front. He's currently listed as a third string left guard, but I would say with that kind of versatility, he would definitely find himself in a starting role in a couple of years. He could definitely find himself in a starting role in a couple of years. It's all going to come down to how he's able to transition to the NFL speed and kind of work himself into the offense. Last and final pick, kind of coming late in the fourth round, they went with another cornerback, this one out of Louisiana Tech, Amik Robertson. He's a bit undersized, but he has good speed. ESPN has decided that they don't want to show us his highlights, but he has good balance as well, with the ability to close well. He may struggle to match up outside kind of due to his size, but he can play physical and press coverage, and If I remember the quote correctly, he plays bigger than his physical size or something like that. So the size hasn't been truly exposed in college, but it's going to be interesting to see if it same holds true in the NFL. He's kind of got ball hawk tendencies, and he's just got great overall ball skills. He had 14 interceptions in college. He's tough, and he's had shows of flashes of stopping power even at his size. He's currently listed as a third string cornerback. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is you can't really teach size, but with a ball hawk like that, who knows? He could turn into a good slot corner later on. In my opinion, I think this definitely makes sense, but I would think that it's kind of the shakiest pick, but it's also their last pick, so that definitely, kind of makes sense. Usually the last pick is one of, if not your shakiest pick, but I think that everything that they did, I think, in this draft made sense. They needed help in um, pass pass defense. Three of their picks went to kind of speedy guys that they could throw into coverage and hopefully be able to make an impact this season or within the next year or two. And I also think that wide receiver wise, I think that despite the fact that they had one of kind of a top third um, passing attack last season, I do think that part of that could have been getting down because of that defense. So I also think just having more weapons all over the field will just allow you to kind of open things up and maybe punch some more things in at the goal line. So hopefully, I mean, I definitely think they needed more wide receiving. I think it was Tyra Williams. Yeah, Tyra Williams was really their kind of biggest and only notable returning, um, and Hunter Renfro, I guess. But these two guys were kind of like the only two notable guys that are returning for the Raiders this season. The rest of their wide receiving core is all new, so I definitely think that it's going to be a different look offense for them, and I kind of like the way that their draft went. I'm not gonna say it was a perfect draft out here, but I would say that it was a solid draft. I think I'm thinking kind of around an A minus, Matt. I know you're probably a little bit more acquainted with this draft than others. Do you have an opinion?
No, I think that's a pretty good place to put it. They got a lot of value out of what they got, and they made high value like guys who can cover multiple areas of need, despite being the one guy was drafted as a wide receiver, but he can also be slotted in other places. So I think that it's pretty good, pretty easy A minus.
I mean, I think they were smart. They attacked where their needs were, which I mean, that sounds like an easy thing to say, but you would be surprised the amount of teams that we look at and we're saying, what the hell were you thinking with that pick? So, um, I think that they were smart. They made good selections that covered their needs well, and they made sure that they, you know, stayed on schedule to try to continue to improve. Again, that is a rough division that they're in. Who's it? It's the Chiefs and who else? Chiefs, Denver, and then the Chargers. Now the Chargers they may not have been the best on paper, but they were a pretty solid team the last few years. Maybe the last year they took a little bit of a step back, and then Denver with that defense, you never really know. So the Kansas City obviously is going to headline that division, but I would say overall there's not really a team that you can look at. I mean maybe the Chargers, but
No,
um,
I think the Broncos are pretty threatening in that division. I would say the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to be fourth in that division, barring them having a huge season from every one of their randoms, putting up career highs. I think the way it projects out that it'll be Kansas City, and then Denver and Oakland competing for 2 and 3, and then the Chargers being at the bottom.
yeah, I
At
think
least how I look at
barring
it.
an injury to Pat Mahomes, Kansas City will be winning the division. So that leaves Denver and Oakland fighting out of this division for potential um, wild card spot. So I guess we'll have to see how that all kind of pans out. But I think that we've kind of covered all our bases here. I think A minus again just on the draft. I think an A minus makes sense. Sounds like Matt agrees. So I think we've hit all of our bases. Speaking of bases, tomorrow Matt goes.
Talk about the Oakland
There
A's,
you
another
go.
good team. And exciting news, we're gonna have fucking baseball this season. It's actually gonna happen. We will get to watch Yankees baseball this season. I am so excited.
Well, there you go. So with that being said, make sure to come back tomorrow to check out his A's video, or check out the Dodgers video that he released yesterday. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. Again, the highlight video will be linked in the description down below, so go make sure to check that out. And also in the description is going to be our Discord and our other social media, so go ahead over and check those out. Please come to the Discord. We're active in there. We'd love to hear from you guys, so stop on in and say hi. But with that, I think that will be it for us for today, and we will see you next time. Peace.